Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everybody. I know I posted like 2 weeks ago that I would go live, and I was hoping I would go live that week, but I didn't. So here I am. Hopefully, some of you are able to catch this stream. I'm going to go ahead and just quickly leave a comment in the chat box. All right, so I hope you're doing well. Anybody who is tuning in, don't be afraid to say hi in the chat box. If you hear my dogs sniffing around, I'm giving them a chance to hang out with me while I go live. Normally, I kick them out. But anyways, I've been wanting to go live for a very long time. But the energy just never felt right, Really, Luna? Hey, go sit. This is Luna. Down. No. Down. If you're going to be in here, you need to chill out. So, I've been wanting to go live for more than a few weeks now, but again, it didn't feel like the right timing. And it may have just been I needed to kind of collect myself and get myself on a certain wavelength before I could really share what has been just nagging at me, I guess, to share. And it's crazy because it's the same message I've been sharing for years. And I was just like, this is something that I really feel like we need to be reminded of. And so the message is that it starts with you. There's so much going on in the world right now, right? I mean, from everything. I know there's certain words you're not supposed to say, like on YouTube world right now, or you'll get flagged. But from things like the election to things going on with sicknesses to things going on with economy, racism, all kinds of things going on. And my heartstrings, my emotions have been tugged back and forth in so many different ways, which is why I've stayed quiet, because I just know it's a time where everybody's very sensitive. And even if you say something with good intentions, everybody's just getting offended and up in arms these days about every little thing. So I've remained really quiet, but over the last few weeks, I've just felt super passionate. And I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly what it was that I was feeling until today, when I'm, sitting on my couch and, getting some things together. And I'm just like, I can't, I was trying to write it into words. I was trying to write what I've been feeling into words. And it wasn't, I was like, no, I just need to talk. Sometimes you just need to talk it out, right? And so the message really, again, is that it begins with you. What I keep seeing is everyone wanting to place blame on another party. It's their fault this sickness is here. It's their fault racism is happening. It's their fault that we're in debt. It's their fault we have the economy this way. It's their fault that there's a wage gap. It's their fault that people are treated like this. It's their fault because of this. It's their fault because of that. We've had all these groups and protests and things rising of pointing the blame at others and saying, you need to fix this. Government, you need to fix this. Leaders, you need to fix this. White people, you need to fix this. Whatever, right? And to me, I'm just like, look at yourself. How can you dare take your finger and point it at someone else and tell them they need to get their house in order when your house is a mess? How can you expect a government, a president, a race, an ethnicity, a corporation, whatever? how can you expect another entity outside of you to change your environment when you're not changing your environment yourself? That's the message that I feel like a lot of us need to hear in 2020, because for some reason we feel like everybody else has to change but us. You have to make it so that the system works for me. I'm not supposed to make the system work for me. You have to make it work for me. You have down with the system, down with this, down with that. But you have no idea what would be a better way to have things work. And you know why you don't know? Because you haven't worked on your own damn house. You haven't gotten your stuff in order. Your house is a goddamn mess. When I'm talking about your house, I'm talking about you, your mind. Your mind is a mess, right? You don't have your finances in order. You don't have your family in order. You don't have your own damn mind in order, but you want the government to figure out how to make life be better for you. You want to defund police. You want to make Black people better than white people. You want to shame a president. You want to blame China. You want to blame the US. You want to move out of the US. F the US, right? I'm like, I don't know if you can feel the amount of passion that I have. I'm just so tired of hearing from all sides. People pointing the finger and saying, you should be better. You should be better. No, you should be better. Stop pointing your finger at someone else. Stop pointing it at a group. Stop trying to go into some deep conspiracy theory about how so-and-so is trying to rule the world and have you have the 1% and, you know, the powers that be. Fix yourself. Focus on yourself. Get yourself together first. You cannot complain about anyone else around you until you've gotten your shit together. Like, how dare you point out somebody else having shit on their face when you have a whole pile of it all over yours? You know what I'm saying? So this is a tough truth that I just feel like a lot of us, me included, need to hear. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't want to take responsibility for ourselves. That's why you have the welfare government right now. You know, I mean, I've been silent for the last few months because I've been doing my own research. I've been digging into my own issues and my own need to take responsibility for things in life and my own needs to take charge in my life and to not put blame on other people and to not say, you know, because I was someone who used to say, oh, well, it's not fair because we were told if you go to college and get a good job, you can get a good job and you'll be taken care of. And look, now we got all this debt and yada, yada, yada. And the debt bubble needs to happen so that my debt can be forgiven. Like, hold on a minute. Did you not make the decision, Shanae, to go to college? Did you not make the decision to spend 4 years and have the greatest experience of your, you know, your young, whatever 4 years that was of your life, your young 20s? Did you not enjoy that experience? Did you not gain something from it? Did you not meet your husband in college? And yet you want to sit here and complain and say that the system set you up? No, you made the decision to go to college, Shanae. You made the decision to get in debt. How are you going to want to renege your responsibility? No, you're going to pay that back and you're not going to complain about it. You know what you're going to do? You're going to be grateful for it because it led you to where you are now. You know, so I've been getting deep and tough with myself, you know, in all the different ways that I've been trying to blame others. Oh, well, you know, even what as deep as like, oh, well, it's my parents' fault because my parents kept pushing me to go to college. And there was a point in time when I realized I didn't really want to be there, but they told me that I had to finish. You know what I mean? Like really, Shanae, you were going to blame your parents. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to get your life together. You know, you have to get your house in order first. And it makes me think about when I had started the Dominion Collective, and I'll talk more on that later because I took a long hiatus from that. Something that came to me is the fact that we are each our own dominion. We're each our own nations. And as nations, we're all interacting with other nations, right? So I'm a nation, you're a nation, the person next to you is a nation. Your nation is you. There's many parts to you, right? And you can see that, like, if you study astrology, you study your natal or birth chart, you can see all of the different parts of your personality interacting with each other. So that makes up your nation, right? The different parts of you, the different energies that literally flow through you to make you who you are. Because again, you're a unique person. There is no other person like you on this earth right now. You're a unique energy signature. There is a unique mix of energies. Imagine like God having a mixing bowl and saying, I'm going to add specific ingredients to make this one unique being. That unique being is you. And those ingredients mix together in certain ways to create certain energies within you, certain experiences, certain what you would call strengths and weaknesses and talents and different things like that, right? And how I like to see it, which I think is a pretty cool way of seeing it, I like to see it almost as if you have like a kingdom, right? And you're a kingdom, you're a dominion, and you have this round table of leaders, you know, who represent the major parts of your personality. So again, if you're looking at like your natal chart, it would be your sun, which represents a part of your personality, your moon, your rising, your Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn, all these different planets, right? And points within your natal chart represent different parts of your personality. And you can imagine them all sitting at this round table and they're all putting in, you know, their different 2 cents when it comes to making decisions and moving forward in life. And you need to, that when I say you need to get your house in order, that's what I'm referring to. You need to get that round table in order so that you can actually move forward in a way that is uplifting not just you, but everyone around you. Because what you don't realize is that your energy is affecting the energy of everyone else, right? So if you change your energy, that means everybody else around you is feeling that uplifting and energy. That's why they talk about, you know, when you hear all the new agers talk about, oh, the Aquarian age or the new age or the, you know, the age of enlightenment, and people, you know, the energy rising and things like that, or the feminine energy rising and all this stuff, right? Is literally just, I want to just say it's people getting their shit together, right? It's saying, okay, maybe you're going from vibrating at a low frequency to a higher frequency, but as you do that and you start emitting a higher frequency, that frequency is hitting other people. You know, it's like, imagine you're just a negative Nancy all the time, or somebody's a negative Nancy all the time, and every time you go around them, you just feel your mood go down. That's essentially what it is. We're all influencing each other. It's like how you have countries, or say you have the United States, right? And you have all of these states within the United States. What Texas does is going to affect Oklahoma, and it's going to affect Florida. It's going to affect this. It's not just one state by itself. You know what I'm saying? It's not just that you have California, and what California does doesn't affect New York. Anything California does is going to affect the other states in the United States, you know? And so it's the same with you. Anything you do in your life, any kind of energy that you, no ma'am, any kind of energy that you emit from yourself is going to affect those around you, and not just the ones next to you. It's affecting everyone, because everything is energy. And so whatever energy you're putting out, that energy is going into like the big melting pot of energy that represents the collective world, right? So when you focus on changing your energy, right? When you focus on shifting, I shouldn't even say changing, because it's just shifting your energy. When you move from wanting to be in this settle down, she wants a toy really bad, but she's not getting it. When you move from this lower vibrational frequency, this like TM Jackson mentioned, this victimhood mentality, right? You move out of this victimhood frequency, and you move into a frequency of deciding to take charge of your life and take charge of your specific nation, your dominion, which is you, and you get that in order. That is raising the collective energy up. You know what happens when the collective energy gets raised up? Everybody gets affected. Everybody changes. Everybody starts shifting up. You know what I'm saying? And so before you want to go, I mean, and I think it's all, you know, all good and all to want to say, well, I think things would run better if we did X, Y, and Z. But again, if you haven't gotten yourself in order first, you have no business telling someone else how they should do something. And to add to that, our country in the US, and in whatever country you live in, whatever state, whatever county, whatever city you live in, is literally a reflection of everyone who lives in that county, state, country, whatever. So the president is a reflection of what the collective of the United States needed. The government and all of those who are in Congress and in, you know, the judicial system and in, you know, all of those different branches of government, They're a reflection of what's going on within the collective consciousness of the United States. And it's almost like we don't realize that. We just see them as, oh, that's them. They're separate from us, and they're leading us, and they're telling us what to do, and yada yada yada. You have to recognize that it's a collective, and the collective, it's being reflected in our government. It's being reflected in how corporations move. It's being reflected in just everything that you see. So again, the biggest message that I keep feeling is that you have to look at yourself first. You have to understand yourself first. You have to be able to say, okay, I've got to get myself together first. And it's amazing to me because the more people that you have who really start to get themselves together and take charge, that's when you see change happen. It's not from being stuck in victimhood and blaming everybody else and getting angry and yelling and screaming. That does not create the change. Now, what I will say is that chaos does eventually lead to order. So chaos will eventually lead to people changing within themselves, because at some point you realize that you're just so angry and that nobody's going to change for you, that you have to do the changing. But what this message is here to say is, like, you can bypass all of that and just make the change. You know what I'm saying? You can just change just change your life, change yourself, and do what you need to do to get your affairs in order. And as you get your affairs in order, again, that spreads to other people. And I'm not just saying it in some like spiritual woo-woo, like, oh, raise your frequency and you'll raise the frequency of everyone else. I mean, this could be as simple as, I'll take the example of, I've been learning a lot more about how the world works. I've been learning about how you can say the 1% do things, and how everything is based on contracts. Everything is based on a system of trust. And how initially, like, first of all, this country is not a democracy. So that was news, that was news to me. This country is based on being a republic, which is why we have capitalism. A republic has to deals with everyone having equal opportunity, and also, just man being seen as equal. There's a reason why the Constitution was written. It was written because the United States is actually a trust, and a trust is basically, almost think of it like a corporation. And so that's why you have a lot of people who go into these conspiracy theories about how the United States is a corporation and all our social security numbers represent us all being workers or employees of this corporation, or we're all corporations ourselves. And that's why, I don't know if any of you guys have looked into this before, but that's why you have people who, literally try to use their social security number to get money from the government, but they end up getting put in jail and yada, yada, yada. There's reasons for that. And so years ago, I had studied the conspiracy side of it. But now I'm actually starting to understand the reality of it. And the reality is that the United States was formed because you had a bunch of people who were no longer happy with how Britain was doing things, right? How the UK, Queen of England and all that stuff was doing things. They didn't want to be taxed anymore, things like that, right? And so they decided they wanted to create their own place, their own land where they wouldn't have to pay taxes. And so one of the things that comes up is like, okay, well, why do we pay taxes now? And the interesting thing is that only the people who don't know how the country was really founded and how it really operates pay taxes. That's why you always hear about the rich not paying taxes, right? And that's why people want to see like Trump's taxes so much. It's because there's a whole separate way of operating, and it's called operating in private versus public, right? So you have the public system, which is where you have the government with welfare and taxation and all of that. And then you have the private arena. Well, that's why you always hear about the private sector and things like that. And the private arena is literally families operating through a system of trust. And so a trust is basically a way to protect your assets. It's a separate entity. That's why you have a lot of rich people who don't pay taxes, because essentially the entity, the trust, operates as its own person, just like a corporation would. And so that entity will pay taxes for you. And so you essentially don't have to pay taxes because that entity will take care of you. It can help pay certain bills for you through fringe benefits and stuff. So I've been learning a lot about how this country actually operates and how it was founded, and how you have the Declaration of Independence was actually a contract, and it was initiating this system of a trust that the United States is part of. I've been learning about like things like why the Social Security system actually even came about, and how essentially the 1% or the powers that be, they're not all bad. They're not all good. They just are. Essentially, a lot of these systems, from public education to the welfare system to Social Security insurance, these things were created to basically take care of the public. The government was created to protect the public. And the public is typically those who are not aware of how the private operates. And they're either misinformed or they don't care. They're not interested. A lot of times, I think it's just that we're ignorant. We don't know how these things actually work. And a lot of the people in the private sector who do know how these things work, they do want to keep it that way to an extent. You have a lot of them that want to share this information, which is why in this information age, that information is becoming more known in a sense. But yeah, I went on that tangent just to say, the last few months for me, I've been learning about how things work so that I can no longer blame others. I can't blame you when I didn't take the initiative to go and learn for myself, when I didn't take the initiative to say, okay, well, how does this work? How can I, create what it is that I want in my life, instead of looking to others to create it for me? Because that's why this country was created. It wasn't created so that everybody could be a victim. It wasn't created so that everybody could be babied by a government. That's how you get to things like communism and socialism and stuff like that. And as much as people may think that they want the government to rule everything, trust me, that's not something you want. You don't want the government telling you every single thing you have to do in your life. You want to have freedom. And that's what this country was founded on. And that's why this country, it was known as a republic. And unfortunately, right now, with the victimhood mentality where everybody's a freaking victim, people don't want it to be that. They want it to be that democracy. Democracies fail for a reason. That's why this country was not set up as a democracy. So yeah, anyways, there's a lot that I could say on that, but it just understanding that information allowed me to take more charge in my life and saying, okay, well, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to do things. And, now that I know how something works, I'm no longer going to blame anyone outside of myself. And so, again, that's why I say it's so important for you to learn yourself, and it's just crazy to me because it's like this message just keeps coming back around and around and around and around, because it's something I've been saying for 2 or 3 years now, is how important it is to know yourself and to know who you are, to know the unique ingredients that make up your energy. Because again, there's no one like you on this earth. And it'll be, I think what I learned recently is it takes 25,000 years before your unique energy is basically created again within a natal chart. Before a natal chart can reflect your exact natal chart, is a 25,000 year period, So there's no one walking the earth right now that has your unique energy. It's literally you. And when you can learn how your energy works, you can flow in a way where things just happen a lot easier for you. When you can become aware of how, okay, this is literally how my round table works, or this is literally the ingredients that make me up. So I know that I have a tendency to, I don't know, play the victim. Maybe you have a tendency to play the victim, but you know that there's a lesson in that, right? Because you also know, like, think of it like genetics, right? Think of it because again, I truly believe that your natal chart does reflect in your genetics and how you actually act in this world. So say you have your genetics and how, a lot of these scientists and medical people talk about how you can turn genes on and off. You're born with a set of genes, right? And your natal chart, for example, can tell you a lot of what those genes will be, right? As far as how you will act, how you will think. It can even go down into health issues and things that you have if you study deep enough, but that's another story. So you have all of these different genes that can be activated and turned on and triggered. And so as you go through life, specifically your first 7 years of life, you have different genes that are triggered constantly. And the ones that tend to be triggered the most are the ones that you see displayed throughout your adult life. And the thing is that you have like a whole slew of genes, right? You only have a certain amount of them actually turned on, but there's other ones that can be kind of triggered on that will lead you to what you want in life. And so you're born with certain, strengths and weaknesses and talents, and certain strengths and weaknesses or talents get turned on from those first 7 years of you being born. And so you walking through life not realizing that you have a whole other set of genes that can be triggered on. And it's literally laid out in your natal chart. And one way I like to look at it is, as a very important point that can really help you with that is your north node. So I know a lot of people, when they study astrology, they really love to look at the main three, right? Your sun, your moon, and your rising. And a lot of people are like, sun, moon, and rising, those are the most important things in your chart. And, everybody studies astrology differently. I've been studying astrology for a few years now, and I've definitely gone through many different ways of studying astrology. And I've taken my breaks, and I've come back to it, and I've taken breaks, and I've come back to it. And one thing that through my years of studying that has really made sense to me is how important your north node is. And it's not even a planet, it's literally a point in your chart. You have a north and a south node, and it's dealing with the moon's nodes. Every planet actually has north and south nodes, but in your natal chart, we tend to focus on the nodes of your moon. And so the north node is almost in a sense like how people say, like your destiny, right? Or like an area where you could be moved. Think of it as like north on your compass, right? And how everybody wants to find their true north. Everybody always wants to go north, right? Whenever you look at a compass, oh, where's north, right? So think of that as your north node. And this is going to be an area for you that is uncomfortable oftentimes, because it's not an area that's necessarily a strength yet, because that's where your south node comes in. Your south node is kind of like the things that are triggered for you in childhood. Or if you believe in past lives, you can say that these are talents and just quirks and things. Girls, I don't think anybody want to hear y'all mouth breathing while I'm live, okay? So chill out. So yourself, just think of yourself, whether you believe in past lives or not. If you don't, you could think of it as these are things you inherited from your ancestors in your DNA. It could be these are the things that triggered me and things that I grew to know as a child in my first 7 years of life. You can look at it however you want to. But either way, the south node is kind of just the things that you're good at, the things that you're comfortable with. It's your comfort zone. Whether those things are good or bad, doesn't matter. It's labeled as your comfort zone. And the north node is really, okay, let's push you out of that comfort zone, because what you want is outside of that comfort zone, right? And life naturally leads you down this path of getting out of your comfort zone. That's really like one of the major points in life, because life wants to create more life, and more life is not created when you're stuck, when you're stagnant. Energy loves to be moved. It doesn't want to just stay stuck and stay sitting in one spot. So the point of life is really to keep you moving, to keep you fluid. And so that's kind of what your north node is showing you, is like, okay, south node is what you're comfortable with. It's that zone where you're stagnant, but we need you to move. We need you to go here. And that's what your north node indicates in your chart. And so I like to think about it as, just different genes that have to be activated in life. And they get activated, through meeting different people and different things like that, or through you activating them. It just depends on what I like to say life has planned for you. Because when you look at, like, I think astrology and numerology are great examples. These are two fields of study that I've studied for, again, a few years now. But when you look at like a transit chart in astrology, so a transit chart is when you look at where the planets currently are and how they're interacting with your birth chart. Because your birth chart is almost like taking a picture of the planets, taking a picture of the universe, right? When you were born, your specific moment in time where you were born, and saying, oh, these are the energies that made you up. But the planets don't just stop moving when you're born and never move again. They keep moving because, again, energy likes to move, right? And so your transit chart is saying, okay, well, the planets are moving this way, and this is how it's interacting with your snapshot when you were born. And so these energies are always, the planets represent these certain energies in the universe, and these energies are always flowing, and they're always hitting you in different ways, just depending on what unique energy signature you have, based again on your unique genetics, your unique DNA, your unique natal chart, right? And so life, when it amazes me every time I go deeper and deeper in studying astrology and numerology and things like that, because you start to see that if you would just flow in life, right? Like if you would just let life essentially happen and not stress so much about when is this going to happen and when do I need to get this done and when do I need to get that done, you would find that things would naturally occur. And so I know for at least a year or two now, I've talked about that wise sage and how that wise sage is able to step back and just observe life happening and knowing, that the pendulum is always going to swing back, that things are always going to be happening, things are always going to be cycling, because energy is always moving. And it's always moving. I like to think of it like a spiral. It's always spiraling, as far as how you grow, you're always spiraling upwards, right? And so again, these energies, they're always interacting with your unique energy, your unique signature, that unique mix that makes you you. And so you're always naturally being pulled out of that comfort zone, bit by bit. So you don't have to necessarily like force yourself to be like, go from A to Z in like 2 months. Like you don't have to do that. Life will naturally, gradually pull you out of that comfort zone. And it will come through situations, it will come through people, it will come through just realizations that you have, and it's really, really awesome. So yeah. It's really important that you learn yourself, because when you learn yourself, you see all of the potential, you see all of what's possible, and you're able to see how life has been literally moving you from, say, your south node to your north node, and how you've been moving from comfort zone to possibilities and potential. It's really freaking cool. Every time I go back and study, it's like, oh wow, because it's like I go into these periods of time where I study for like months and months and months and months and months, and then I take a step back and it just soaks in, and then I go back and that's just how I work, right? So yeah. It's really, really, really important that you get your house in order. And the way that you get your house in order really is understanding yourself. And when you understand yourself and you understand what's going on and how that's essentially causing you to grow, it's just you stop trying to force things. You stop trying to make things happen. You allow things to happen in their own time, and you allow yourself to grow at your own rate. You begin to be comfortable around other people because you recognize that everybody is unique. Everybody has their own specific lessons, their own trajectory path of growth that life is taking them down. And so you just learn to interact with people better. You learn to be more compassionate towards others. You learn to be more forgiving towards others. And essentially, that's how life changes. It's like this ripple effect, because you just become at peace. You just get in flow with life. And yeah, it's a really, really awesome thing to witness and to experience. But, right now what I'm seeing is just a bunch of people who just kind of want to stay stuck in that comfort zone or in that south node energy. And it's almost like life is trying to pull them out of that. And instead of like going with the flow, they're just kind of trying to resist it. Which again, if you're the observer or the wise person stepping back, you understand that it's all part of the process anyway. But I will say part of my process is helping to wake people up to the fact that you've got to get your affairs in order and understanding yourself. It brings me again back to the Dominion Collective, which again I had took a little hiatus from because I needed to kind of step back and just make sure I was going in the right direction with that. But I remember, one of the core videos that I had about like introducing the Dominion Collective was like the 4 pillars or something of the actual brand. And a lot of it was know yourself and know others and knowing how the world works. Like those were three major things that I would mention a lot with the Dominion Collective. Is if when you understand yourself, you understand others, you understand how the world works, you're able to function smoothly. And essentially, the Dominion Collective was all about bringing heaven to earth, right? Creating that heaven on earth mentality, that heaven on earth state of being. And again, those are the pillars of that. When you understand yourself, first of all, you have compassion towards others. You understand that everybody's on their unique path, and you're bumping into all of these different people on their paths because you guys have to interact in order for certain things on your path to get activated. So you understand that you interact with people, you recognize you're not just an island sitting by yourself, but in fact you're a state connected to another state, to another, to another, to another, and we're all connected on a deep level. It's like how the world was all Pangea once, right? It was all just one massive land, that whole spiel. We're all one, but we're also all separate in a sense. We all our own little pieces of land. You think about it that way. And we're all these pieces of land that have to learn how to function as one so we can have peace and harmony. But in order to do that, we have to be willing to be taken on this journey of growth, this journey of change, this journey of movement. Because again, energy is always going. Girls. So, yeah, I had a lot to get off my chest today. There's a lot more that I have to say on it, but I feel like that's kind of where I need to kind of leave it for now. It's just very important that we get ourselves together. It's not about being selfish and only thinking about yourself, because I know that that's something I came up against a lot when I was talking about knowing yourself. I would get a lot of resistance from people who would say, oh, that's selfish. It's not about you. It's about everybody else. But you cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot. How can you help direct others and guide others when you don't even know yourself? You know what I mean? Like you don't even know who you are, but you're trying to tell other people who they need to be and who they are. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So it's very important, that we come to know ourselves, because when you come to know yourself, again, and studying yourself, you start to learn about everybody else around you. You start to learn about all the different unique energies, which means you start to realize, hold on a minute, I'm not in competition with nobody else, because nobody can compete with me, because I'm not anybody else and nobody else can be me. You stop trying to force people to change. You start focusing more on yourself, and you start just letting life kind of lead you. And in that sense, life becomes more magical. Like you're just like be stepping back and you're like, whoa, hold on a minute. This happened. You can look back on life and be like, this happened and this connected and this, and you're just like, whoa, because in your little mind, your ego mind, you're thinking, oh, I've got this. I know what I want. It's going to take this step to get there. And then I do this and then I do this and I do this. And life is like, with all the strings up here, right? Saying, no, this is going to move this way and we're going to move this and this is going to happen. And then it's going to lead you there, but you're sitting here thinking, yeah, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And universe is like, no, it's A, Z, X, Y, L, W, N, S, So when you really begin, it's a new way of functioning. It's a new way of being. And it comes first when you decide you're going to take responsibility for yourself and for knowing who you are. And it spirals outward. And it just creates a genuine sense of peace and harmony in your life, despite what's going on. Doesn't mean that life is going to be all rainbows and everything all the time. Things will happen. But again, you're able to step back and assess what is going on. Why is this occurring? And you just become more understanding. You don't fight things all the time in life. And you know when to go to battle and you know when not to. You know which battle is for you and which one's not. You know when to step back and when to move forward. So yeah. That's what I needed to come on here and say. Know that for me, life has definitely been correcting me in a lot of ways. It's been letting me know where I was trying to step into my comfort zone and where life has been trying to kind of pull me out of that. So there's going to be different things, that I'll be talking on more and more, that I'll be sharing with you guys more and more. things that just require me to be more responsible, for me to take more charge in my life, for me to have more integrity. Yeah, and for me to get my affairs in order, for me to actually step into my role, one of my many roles, right? So yeah, I'll be sharing more on that soon, and yeah, I'm excited about that. But yeah, I had to get on here and just get that message out. Like, this is really like it was bubbling up, and it's been bubbling and bubbling up for months now, but it just never felt right, you know. So yeah, it felt really good to kind of come and get that out with you guys, and I hope it all made sense. It's just kind of like it just needed to kind of flow out, and just so yeah, it's time for us. If you're watching this video now, or you're watching this video later, you know, just know that it's literally life waking you up and letting you know, like, okay, it's time for you to get out of your comfort zone, your south node energy, your victimhood mentality. You know, it's time for you to move forward, to take charge, to take responsibility, you know, because again, energy does not like to be stuck. You know, energy does not like to be hoarded. It does not like to be stuck in one spot. It needs to move. You know, it needs to be zigzagging, spiraling, whatever. It needs to be constantly in a state of movement. You are literally energy. Yeah, you might feel like a dense body in this earth, you know, because that's the realm we're in. But ultimately, even your physical body is made up of energy. Everything is energy, and energy needs to be constantly moving. So this is this. If you were looking for a sign, this is it. It's time for you to start moving, and yeah. Just know that I am finally ready to step into that space of doing what I need to do to help those move forward, who are meant to move forward with me. You know, not everybody's going to learn well from me, or, you know, whatever. That is disgusting. You totally just farted, Luna. That is so gross. But anyways, yeah, I know that I'm meant to lead and guide a certain group of people. And so I am finally ready to step into that. That's something I've been fighting for years, because I didn't truly want to take responsibility. I too, you know, we all want to be able to be taken care of. We all want to be able to play the victim in some way, shape, or form, in many different ways. Again, everybody's energy is different. And so for me, one of those things was always wanting someone to guide me, and wanting a teacher or mentor to guide me rather than me guide other people. And this doesn't mean that I don't have mentors and guides. I do, trust me. But one of the biggest things I've been fighting is that responsibility that I need to take on of, there is a specific soul group that you're assigned to guide. And you've got to, come on, Shannon, you've got to take up that responsibility and stop trying to run from it. Stop trying to dip your toes in and then jump out. Like, it's time for you to jump full force in. So that's something I've been personally working through myself. Life has been working on me for years with that. And that's why you if you followed me for any amount of time, you've seen me step up and then step back, and then step up and then step back, and then step up and then step back. And, you know, it's just, life has been very patient with me, as life is patient with all of us. And, you know, the energies are always aligning perfectly to slowly pull you out of that comfort zone. Even though sometimes it may not always feel slow. Trust me, the universe, life only gives you what you really can handle. In the sense that life knows what you can handle. And sometimes you may receive something that you feel like you can't, but in reality, you can. And it's meant to have you grow and have you move, because again, energy is always moving. So I will be honest and say, for me, life has definitely been pulling me out of that comfort zone bit by bit. And, you know, it's kind of like, now I'm at that edge where it's okay, it's no longer about getting your toes wet. You have to jump in full force. And when you do, it might be scary initially, because when you decide to take on more responsibility, it's like, okay, wait, I have to be in charge of all of this stuff. What if something goes wrong? But you find, as you step into it and you actually take that responsibility on, that you learn these things step by step. Life is not going to just leave you hanging. You know, it's going to say, okay, we need you to take this step forward now. Trust, right? Trust that we're taking care of you. And as you trust and you move forward, life is like, okay, here's the next step you need to do. Here's what you need to learn now, you know, so that you can do what it is that you're guided to do. So know that there's going to be things coming from me soon, as I'm being called to do specific things. And yeah, I'm excited about that. Let me see some of these comments. Hi, Alana. I haven't seen you in a long time. I miss talking to you guys. It's just every time I would try to go live, it was like, nope. Life was like, nope, not the time. Nope, not the time. All right. I'm so tempted to call you by your name, but I'm just going to say Actualist Zoe. It's nice to see you too. So, yeah. I think that's pretty much what I've got for you guys. Again, if you're watching this later, know that this is meant for you to watch. Leave any comments that you have down below. I will be talking more about specifically North Node and South Node, because that's something that I'm being called to share on a lot more. So I'll be talking about that with astrology, numerology at some point, because those are two fields of study that I just connect with very strongly. So yeah, I'll have a lot more coming for you guys. I'm really excited about it, but life is so a lot more coming. We're gonna be learning a lot about North Node energy, and where life is leading you. And as long as you're willing to go along for the ride, you're gonna be just like excited about everything that you learn. So with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you the next time I see you. Stay safe, stay happy. Yeah, I'll see you soon. Bye.